books are there in the Suzuki method? Keep watching to find out. If we haven't met, hi, I'm Megan. I'm a violinist and teacher currently based in New Jersey. I've been playing the violin for over 20 years. I have both my bachelor's and master's degrees in violin performance, and I'm a Suzuki trained teacher. If you're enjoying my videos, please smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to check out my self-paced, versatile, affordable learning plan, Learn Violin Online. It's always linked in the description. In the Suzuki Violin School, there are 10 books. However, from my experience, not many people go through all 10. I personally stopped using Suzuki around book 6. At the end of the day, Suzuki is a beginner to intermediate learning system. Once you reach a certain point in your playing, you are ready to play more quote-unquote traditional pieces. I'll now be giving you a brief overview of each book. Book 1 is probably the most challenging and will probably take you the longest to go through. Why? Because everything is new. You are starting from scratch. So you have to not only learn posture, but also how to read music, how to produce a beautiful tone, where to place your fingers, and so much more. So because of that, it is a pretty big learning curve, and you probably, again, will spend the most time on book 1. I would say students usually get through book 1 in about 1.5 to 2 years. Obviously, that is very personal, depends on if you have any prior musical experience, how much you practice, etc. But by the time you reach the end of book 1, you should have a good bow hold, a good violin hold, understand the concept of intonation. Not saying your intonation should be perfect, but it should be decent. Have a pleasing tone. Be familiar with reading music, which is not to say your reading music skills needs to be perfect. Be familiar with slurs, staccato, and data shape bowing, all 4 fingers, and the high and low 2 placements of the second finger. Book 2 is really where the fun begins. It has a lot more diverse pieces than book 1. Book 1 is a lot of just like really short pieces that Dr. Suzuki came up with because he wanted to teach a certain skill. But book 2 has adaptations of larger works. In book 2, you'll continue to refine your posture, intonation, tone, all that good stuff, and also learn different finger placements such as high 3s, low 4s, low 1s. I also personally like to introduce shifting in book 2 and vibrato at the end of book 2. Also, students should be fairly fluent in reading music by the end of book 2. Book 3 actually only has 7 pieces in it, so it's a fairly short book, especially compared to books 1 and 2, which have, I think, like 16 or 17. There's 17 in book 1 and I think like 12 in book 2, so book 3 is much shorter. I personally try to teach a shift in every single piece in book 3 besides the first piece. To explore new keys, namely the key of G minor. There's several pieces in G minor in that book. You're adding your vibrato into pieces. The pieces in book 3 also lend themselves really well to working on different dynamics and characters. And the latter 2 pieces of the book require double stops and chords. Book 4 is the fun one because then you're actually diving into concertos. You have some Seitz concertos, then you have the Vivaldi concertos, and then the Bach double at the end, so it's a really fun book. From my experience, students will spend the most time on book 4 after book 1, so at least a year to a year and a half to finish book 4. Again, just in my experience, just a generalization, not saying that would necessarily apply to you. You are going to be shifting much more frequently. In book 3, we had a couple shifts in each piece here and there, but in book 4, you are shifting between first, second, and third positions all the time. Additionally, the third piece in book 4 has a very big double stop section that you will probably find challenging, but that's okay. I also like to supplement with outside double stop exercises so that passage is not such a big shock. Book 5 is also another big one because it has a complete concerto in it. So in book 4, you just had movements of concertos, but in book 5, you have the entire Vivaldi G minor concerto. In book 5, you'll be shifting between 5 positions. So first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And actually, in the third movement of the Vivaldi G minor, you'll have to go through all 5 of them, which is pretty exciting. I also find that book 5 has 2 slow pieces in it, and that is a nice change of pace because most of the pieces before that have all been fast. Definitely in book 3s and 4. This time my students are also playing 3-octave scales and most likely the arpeggio sequence. Again, you're shifting through 5 positions, and at this point you should be working on consistent vibrato and very near vibrato. Book 5 is also an awesome opportunity to think about the different characters and expand on the different characters that you can create with your violin by using your contact point, bow speed, and bow weight. When you reach book 6, you are essentially an upper intermediate player, in my opinion. La Folia, the first piece of book 6, is so much fun, but it is very challenging. You will probably spend a good amount of time on that piece. After that, you have some Handel sonatas, which aren't that challenging. Don't get me wrong, there's some tricky stuff in there, but definitely not as much as La Folia. And the Fiocco Allegro is a really fun, fast-paced piece, so you can work on speed. The big piece in book 7 is the Bach E minor concerto. This is the piece that I will choose to spend the most time on because it's a pretty standard piece in repertoire. Even if you weren't using the Suzuki method, it's likely that you would play this piece. The other pieces in book 7 are essentially just Baroque short pieces. Some of them are adapted from the Bach cello suites. There's also another Handel sonata. Fun fact about the Suzuki method that I actually didn't know until I took my book 7 training was that it has no romantic repertoire in it. It's all Baroque, which obviously as a violinist you want to be playing romantic repertoire. So by the time you get to book 7, you most likely will be supplementing with other pieces, maybe like Chardes or Meditation from Thais. Book 8, to be honest, I don't have a ton of experience with. I've never taught it, I didn't play it, and I haven't taken my Suzuki training on it. But from my understanding, the big piece in that is the Echo Sonata. And then books 9 and 10 are just Mozart concertos. Book 9 is the D major, number 4, and book 10 is the A major, number 5. So at that point, it's like, why even say you're playing Suzuki? You might as well just say you're playing Mozart. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what to expect in each book. Like I said, it's pretty rare to go through the entire sequence, the entire 10 books. But if you did, let me know in the comments because that's a big feat. If you have any particular questions about the pieces or things that you learn in the books, please go ahead and drop a comment. I'm happy to chat with you. And if you're interested in learning the Suzuki method, check out Learn Violin Online. When you join at any tier, you'll get access to my course, Suzuki Books 1 through 5, where I teach you not only how to play the pieces, but also the important skills behind them. Make sure you subscribe before you go, and thank you for watching.